What's up? It's your boy back on your regularly scheduled content. So today I'm going to do a video on unorthodox improvement tips, right? So as my oh my god. She doesn't like that. Anyway, so I'm gonna, run off my list. I've got 5 tips that I want to give off that are kind of like weird, right? And I think these are things that are pretty important to me and kind of like what have actually like really contributed to me improving as a player and stuff. But I think there are things that people don't necessarily say because they don't really sound so great and the implications are kind of bad, but I want to explain. So I'll read off my 5, right? And then I'll explain, but if you're interested, you'll have to yourself. Right? So my first tip, right? My first piece of advice that is really weird is play rhythm games, right? Play really hard rhythm games. What? Why? Well, I can't see anymore. Oh, I'll explain later. Whoops. Part 2. Don't look at your notes. What am I doing right now? Don't do that. Don't look at your notes, right? Part 3. Don't be so quick to play matches, right? So even if you have the opportunity to play, you shouldn't. 4. The most contrary thing in this video. Don't listen to what people tell you. Right? And 5 is train yourself first, in-game second. Right? So let me start from the beginning. Right? So play rhythm games. Damn, SKD. What do rhythm games have to do with anything? Right? So rhythm games actually give you such a good sense of kind of like visual acuity, being able to parse patterns quickly, right? I mean playing difficult rhythm games. I mean like actually putting in the time to get good at a rhythm game, right? And there's a lot of notable players who are kind of like exceptional, right? Goichi used to be like a professional Guitar Hero player almost, right? So why, right? It really trains your hand-eye coordination, right? So the time between this and this becomes a lot faster, a lot more natural. And just being able to parse complicated patterns means that you'll be able to take more complicated visual information and turn it into something that you can digest, right? So rhythm games really train this skill super well. They're a ton of fun. I love DJ Max. DJ Max is kind of my game of choice for practicing these things. And the other thing is that it trains your hands, right? It trains your hands. So I played DJ Max on pad. I really like it. But the other nice part about it is it actually keeps my hands in good shape, right? And keeping your hands in good shape is actually like super important because for me, right, I play easier, right? And the kind of execution ceiling for her is like super high. And a lot of times if I'm not playing regularly, I like blow my hands out, right? It actually hurts terribly. I get burning. I like had pretty bad nerve damage from 2014 playing her. And I took it seriously. I stretched every day for like 6 months straight. I went crazy doing like hand training exercises and stuff. But ultimately, rhythm games are a like great catch-all. They train you, they help work out your hands, they're fun. That one's pretty clear cut, you know. And building that sense, right, of being able to take complicated information quickly is like so crucial and a fundamental skill in fighting games. So do it. Do it, right? So second part, don't look at your notes. Why? Why? People take notes? I'm not saying don't take notes. So this is something that I do a lot. I don't know why I took my glasses off. I can't see anything. Okay, here we go. Now I can stop fixing my hair, right? So part 2 is don't look at your notes, as I looked at my notes, right? Why? So working on your memory is also part of that, right? Working on your retention, how fast you're able to just take information and apply it. So the capacity of information that you'll want to take, internalize, and make it natural to you is really important. So I think taking notes is good for learning, but ultimately the skill in matches that you need is to take it from here, right, and put it there, like so quickly and so naturally, right? So knowing these things is really important. I know like most of the frame data in BBCF like outright. People always ask me this stuff, and it's because I have kind of taken the initiative to train myself to learn these things, right? And my capacity for like knowing frame data is like crazy to some people, but it's just something that I've worked on for such a long time that now I can actually do it, right? So I learn by writing personally, right? So I write a lot in terms of taking notes, right? So I'm not saying don't take notes, I'm saying don't look at them before you play, right? You make an effort to really memorize these things because that's a skill, right? And it's a skill that's actually very practical and valid and pragmatic for playing matches because you will need to recall these things so fast, so naturally, and sometimes there'll be things that you will not account for in your notes that you'll need to remember, right? So do your best. Anyway, third part, don't be so quick to play matches. Don't always play if you can, right? So I think this is actually important for a lot of people. Try not to reinforce bad habits, right? And make sure that you go into every match really explicitly ready to take away from that match. Otherwise, you're kind of just playing, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because ultimately you need to develop some kind of sense of muscle memory. You need to develop that sense of like timing, frame data, blah, 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 right? But eventually, once that kind of stuff is ingrained, especially playing against like the same player a lot, you don't want to ingrain it too deep. So you want to be very deliberate in every opportunity you get to play, and this is very important for American players, and maybe like, you know, I guess maybe European players and stuff who don't get the chance to play so often, right? Because you can't just throw those opportunities away, so you have to train yourself to make the most of them, right? So just because you can play doesn't mean that you should, right? You want to play when it benefits you in a way where you can actually make the most of it. So that's kind of difficult to talk about, I think. A lot of people don't really want to hear that, but I think it's pretty important. It's about optimizing your time spent playing. And a lot of times, you know, we have the opportunity to play online and stuff like that, but you shouldn't do it all the time, right? Sometimes you should just sit there and think, maybe I should do something different instead of actually just going into the match and trying something different. And eventually, right, when you develop this kind of discipline where you can actually make the most of every instance that you get to play, every match, every round, then you will start to learn so much faster, right? So this is kind of like a long-term thing. So keep that in mind, please. Discipline yourself. Play matches with deliberation. You're going to be good. You're going to be real good. 4, don't listen to what people tell you, right? Listen to what I tell you in a way where it goes in one ear and it gets processed and it comes out, right? So that's what I mean when I say don't listen to what people tell you. Someone says, damn, fairy sweep is godlike. Why is it good? Oh, it just hits people, right? Why would I listen to that? It doesn't make any sense. At least you need to parse this information, but listening to what people say is good direction for your thoughts, right? So you want to take what they talk about and think about it and really, really scrutinize, right? Really scrutinize and try to understand this for yourself. And I'll just say this outright. A lot of people don't know what they're talking about. right? It's true. A lot of people don't know what they're talking about. Someone's gonna say, this is really good. This is an unreactable mix-up. Blah, 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 blah. Is it really? Do they know that? Why aren't they a top player, right? So you can kind of take a bit of their direction, right? Why do they think this is good? Let me try to understand it. But you should never take fundamental kind of like, you should never take assumptions or very broad assessments as kind of like word of God, right? Because if someone says something is good, that is missing a ton of context, that is missing a ton of definition. It's just like, no, right? If someone says something is unreactable, what does that imply, right? How far are we going into this? Is a 30 frame overhead for someone unreactable? Maybe a baby is unreactable, right? So be careful. Parse everything that you read. Parse everything that you hear. Scrutinize it. Everything I tell you, the reason why I say things and then I really go to lengths to explain it is so that it makes sense to you, right? It makes sense to you, and ultimately what needs to be trained, again, this kind of recurring theme of being trained, right? What needs to be trained is your sense of judgment. So your judgment that tells you what's good and tells you what's bad, right? And that sense of judgment goes hand in hand with your game sense, with making good decisions in match on the fly, right? So don't listen. Don't ever just take information, right? Work on your judgment capabilities, because that is a skill that you'll need, right? And the last part that kind of takes everything and puts it together, training yourself first and then in-game second, right? So literally you, the person, the mind, as cliche as it sounds, right? You are the person doing this, right? You are the person applying the knowledge that you have of the game context. So you need to work on your ability to press the buttons. You need to work on your ability to see something and come up with a decision to press the buttons. You need to work on your ability to recall things that will help influence your decisions to press the buttons. You need to work on your ability to press the buttons in such a way that will teach you something for the next time that you get to sit down and press the buttons. And then you need to work on your ability to judge whether anything that I am saying is actually important to you or not, right? So I think I skimmed by that pretty quick, but ultimately there's a lot to digest in there, right? A lot to be aware of, and ultimately what I think is the overarching thing is to be very mindful, right? Everything with deliberation, a lot of care, optimize your time played, like, that's how you get good, that's it, in a nutshell. A lot easier said than done, but I think that's gonna be it for this. Just quick and dirty, you know, cool, peace.